Well, hello Lionhearts, it's your old pal Jordan the Lion. Don't worry, I wasn't smoking in here. Well, today is gonna be a huge vlog. I warned you yesterday what it was gonna be, and today it's gonna be real. This might be the realest thing that we ever do. Today, we are going to Auschwitz. I signed up for the first tour of the day, so we're leaving at 6 a.m. So let's head over and meet up with the tour. Days of Jordan the Lion begin now. Well, we have an hour-and-a-half ride, and then we will be at a place that changed lives, families, and countries. To be honest, I tried to sleep last night, and I could not get to sleep. I don't know, I just kept thinking about what we were doing today, and I don't know, in a weird way, I almost felt like I was going to the gallows myself. I just going to a place where so many bad things happened, but that's kind of the point of this channel, is to go explore places and remember history and not forget things. And I think, and I hope that everybody will get that out of this video, that this is a place to not forget because of the atrocities that happened. Well, we've arrived at the entrance, and on the bus ride here, we watched a pretty detailed documentary about the liberation of Auschwitz. And it's one of those things that when you see it and then you arrive here, it really hits you. I mean, human beings were experimented on. They were judged by their look, whether they were healthy enough to work. I mean, it was just an absolute unbelievable event to happen, and we're about to take the tour now. Work will set you free. It's a pretty foggy day out here, but we're about to walk in the Work Will Set You Free gate. And many of you may know that Anne Frank was originally sent here with her sister before being shipped off to Bergen-Belsen. And this barbed wire at one point was highly electrified. They said that some prisoners would jump into the barbed wire to electrocute themselves to save themselves. All right, we're going in. Now basically they would bring everyone in. If they had hair, they would shave their hair because they would use it to make socks and various things out of. And then they would line everybody up, and doctors would decide whether or not you were healthy enough to work or not. If you were healthy enough, you were sent to work, and if not, you were killed. And they said they were 6 to a bunk, 1,000 to a building. Now they said that many of the buildings were built by Auschwitz prisoners, and in many cases when they had gassed or shot the prisoners, other prisoners had to cremate them or bury them in mass graves. Now, one of the other things they said was that when they came and liberated the prisoners, they were so malnourished, most of them couldn't speak or hardly even move, and most of the roofs were completely worn away. And if you look straight down there, you can see that there's electrified fence all the way around the perimeter. So in this photo you can see where everybody was told to bring all of their personal belongings, and they were told to write their name and address on their luggage and it would be returned to them when they left. But you can see up here in the corner there's a gas chamber with the chimneys, one on each side. Now in this photo, this is when they would have arrived and they would have separated the women that were pregnant, the disabled, the children, and they would have all been sent to the gas chambers.
And they called me Barracks.
Now this picture was taken illegally by a prisoner of them burning the bodies out in the open. They said that they would pack about 2,000 in a small room, and then a man with a gas mask would put the crystals through a hole in the ceiling, and that would end up gassing and killing everyone. And these are all glasses that were confiscated. Some of them that could be recycled were recycled and sent to German organizations to be reused. But these were all stolen from the prisoners. All of these are belongings that were taken. Now this room's really sad. These are all the prosthetics and all the things from the disabled people that were brought here. Pretty safe to assume if you had anything that was in here, you were exterminated right away. Look, you can see back braces and prosthetic limbs. God, just makes your stomach turn thinking of the evil humanity that could perpetuate something like this. See if you can read that sign. It has a big skull and crossbone on it. It says, "Halt." And these are all more personal belongings, all pots and dishes and things. All things promised back to the prisoners when they were quote-unquote relocated. Now here you can see all the luggage with the addresses and things confiscated. When I first met Shelly, one of the people that she introduced me to was a friend that she had made in the rehab hospital who had been in a concentration camp and had the tattoo. That was rather humbling. There you can see some baby clothes. Here's a collection of all the shoes. Millions of pairs of shoes. Millions. Look, just mountains and mountains of shoes. Both sides are completely filled with shoes. And here you can see brushes and shaving and various things. It's all shoe polish. Now the guide was saying the reason that they had all the shoe polish and all the brushes to polish your shoes and everything was because back then most people only had one pair of shoes, so they took extra good care of them. So here at Auschwitz, they would put colored triangles that would identify you. They said that the pink ones were for homosexuals, the green ones for hardened criminals, and they said what they did was at one time made 30 of the hardest criminals they could find. They brought them here and made them supervisors because they knew they had no morals and they were the perfect people to be supervisors of everyone else. How crazy is that?
Oben im ersten habe ich hier in den Raum geschrieben dazu.
And here's a wall of all the prisoners. You could identify them by those smocks that they're wearing. Notice that many of the women have already had their heads shaved. Now they said that as they remained here and they would be basically starved to death, their expressions would become almost emotionless, almost painful, where their eyes would be sunken back and their faces would have a natural sadness to them. God, look at that. They're just basically on like potato sacks. Pretty deplorable conditions. And it says this was the block elder's room. Basically like the warden of the place. You can see he got a little bit better conditions than the rest. There you can see the bunks, but it wasn't 1 to a bunk, it was like 6 to a bunk in some cases. You saw some of those pictures, but I watched a documentary and they showed a guy who was 42 years old and he looked like he was about 85. That's how poorly people were aging here. So apparently the barracks that we're going to see next have not been changed since the liberation. We're going to go to what's called Barrack 11. Now here you can see that it says several hundred prisoners, mainly Jewish women, were held on this block on the top 2 floors, used as guinea pigs for sterilization experiments. So right there. And it even said that some of them were just murdered so they could perform an autopsy on them for experimentation. And it also said that those experiments were performed by the famous Professor Klauberg. He was just, notorious at Auschwitz for his disgusting human testing. So that was number 10. Now we've hit number 11. So Block 11's purpose was this was basically for anyone who tried to escape. Now this is where the Gestapo court sessions would be held. It says the most frequent sentence was the death penalty by shooting at the death wall, which we will see. So many dead bodies were found in here. And like I said, this was one that has not been changed. This block hasn't been changed since liberation. The habitable room for prisoners who are performing duties in Barrack 11. Now this is a replica of the execution wall because the original one was destroyed. Man. So I guess this is what you would have been looking at if you were going to be executed. You would have been looking out this way. So where we're headed now is the only remaining gas chamber. The rest of them were all destroyed before the liberation. So this is where the hospital was, but they say it was only for propaganda purposes. So buildings 19, 20, and 21 were the infirmaries. One of the other forms of torture was that because it was very cold here in the winter, they would make people stand out from dawn till dusk, getting frostbite as punishments. In more than one occasion, there was a case where someone had given bread to a fellow prisoner who was being starved to death, and when the guards found out, both of them were killed. And another form of torture is that they would do roll calls, and in some cases the roll calls would last from 12 to the longest was 18 hours, where they would just stand outside waiting. Here's more of that electrified fence. Now we're going under the barbed wire. was tried and sentenced to death after the war by the Polish Supreme National Tribunal, was hanged here. And there you can see the gallows. I guess that's what you call it, right? So this was the crematorium. This is the last remaining crematorium at Auschwitz. I guess we'll probably get to go inside, I would assume, right? This is where 800 people would have been brought in and killed inside this gas chamber at one time. That would have been for cremation. They would have put the body on there and slid it right in. Man, that was heavy. I am extremely glad that I came and did this, and it's definitely an experience that I will not ever forget, and I think it gave me a whole new outlook on life. Kind of reminds you to appreciate what time you have. Well, I'm gonna call it a day here. Thank you Carrie Beller, Oren Gaspar, and Ellen Chambers for making contributions to my channel. Come back and see me tomorrow and we'll do Auschwitz Part 2 Birkenau. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.